Good afternoon, everyone. This is Matt Weisfeld coming at you with another Chat with Matt. Now, I'm a little late on doing this because, life happens, and when you have 3 kids or family or just any responsibilities, sometimes things happen in general. But either way, wanted to make sure to get another one, and I figured what better day than my birthday. I mean, now, when I actually post this and have this all finished, I doubt it will still be my birthday, but when recording this is the day that I have now turned 39 years old. What a strange year. I mean, it's 1 year shy of 40, which is the big scary thing, which, ironically, I'm not that, scared of. I don't know, seriously, since children and everything else, it all goes out the window, all the craziness, at least for me. Be that as it may, 39 is a touch weird, in the sense that it's like, you're not 40, you're in your 30s, but it's like you got nothing to celebrate with the 30s, but at the same time, I don't know, I like it all. It's so far been a bit of a hectic day, and nice efforts by everybody trying to celebrate. And I think that's kind of like what matters the most, in the sense that, you hit a stage in life where you realize whether that was exactly what was planned or not, it still came together, because just things change and happen. And, so teaching actually, I got to tell you about this, guys, for anyone who's actually tuning in. I had the best moment in my class yesterday. So I mentioned in the previous one of these podcasts, and I mentioned on social media that, I'm back at Monmouth University. And I do think that long term, these weekly, if I'm able to get it going with the weekly side, I think that these podcasts are going to end up almost being like a what's going on in my class and whatnot eventually, since a lot of it does go hand in hand. But either way, so I'm at Monmouth University teaching their IT business class, IT 150. And actually, they made a minor mistake. I got an IT 100 class this time around, and it didn't matter. They all were down with it. IT 100 and IT 150, they're essentially the same class, except the reason they have me with the 150 is because of VPI. Because the 150 is where you're taking technology and applying it to business and aspects of business. And incidentally, just for me giving the real-life experience of VPI, I'm able to connect every lesson to what's actually going on in my life. So that's been really exciting. And I feel like my IT 100 class, the non-business class, is actually more excited about this because they weren't expecting it. It was just supposed to be standard, like Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Here's the basics, basic technological literacy and social media security. What's AI? Let's be afraid of it. Although you guys should, just not yet. Skynet's coming, just we're not there yet. Be it as it may, I think because I'm not supposed to be doing the 100 class, and I threw it in the first day when I realized it. Just to make my life easy, I had a bit of anyone down with throwing the business aspect of it. They thought it was cool as can be. Everyone got their assignments done. Bam, I'm happy. And so now I'm pushing these IT 100 kids more so. And, yesterday was the eclipse, which, gotta say, I don't know, looked pretty boring, just like another eclipse. I'm kidding. It was really exciting in general. I was teasing everyone because I was hoping it was going to go totally dark, just because that would have been wild. I hear those stories, and now in certain parts of the world, which obviously you've all seen on social media and or whatever, or hearing from family members. So anyway, yesterday's class, what were we doing? We were in the midst of the PowerPoint presentation stuff and getting ready for their be it as it may, I do a whole thing with it where they make their own business. They have to push their business, and they're getting fun. It's a whole cool simulation, which I'll talk about or lay out or do a link to at some point later on. And anyway, yesterday with the eclipse, though, I didn't want to be that teacher because apparently there were some. I heard there was a science teacher at Monmouth, which I really hope isn't true, supposedly didn't even let their students out to see the eclipse. I mean, it's science. It's kind of like, it kind of goes hand in hand. Watching what's it going to be, another 15 years before we have another eclipse? So I'm going down a rabbit hole. I know this. It happens from time to time. So we go outside because most of my students have laptops anyway, and so that way they can keep working on their technological aspects and the overall lesson of the day, which incidentally I was discussing about communication and vendors and suppliers and whatnot. And anyway, so we're out there and everything, and then out of nowhere, one of my students, this gentleman Nick, who's been doing some side work for us over at VPI, in the sense of taking these internship type of opportunities and really running with the ball. And he surprised the heck out of me. He was listening. I always tell my students about, picking up on the small stuff. Not that I do all the time, for anyone listening to this. I do the best I can to find the, and again, repeating myself with stuff. In karate, we say to try to find the move between the move. And in real life, finding like the information, the detail, the connections between the connections. So yeah, Nick did just that. He figured out that Boston cream cake and pie type stuff is my favorite. Got me a vanilla Boston cream cake. Surprised me right in the middle of class, and that was really great. I absolutely loved that. Having a very pure birthday experience. Pure in the sense of, here's this, I don't want to call him a kid, so I'm going to say young adult, because I do feel like that's a problem, thanks to COVID and whatnot, with the next generation, or one of the many problems, is them not being able to self-advocate for themselves the right way. I mean, I don't mean the people that, are Karens or whatever the male equivalent, whatever, all that stuff. I don't mean the people who are, self-advocating for themselves in a bad way, in the sense of just being nasty or rude or whatever. I mean self-advocating for their own abilities, their own strengths, being able to showcase, hey, look, I made that newsletter, I made that advertisement, is there any more work I can do for you? And being able to self-advocate in the right way. And that's one of the things I like to push and showcase or do for my students. And, so this young adult, that going back to why I said that, because I do feel like part of that, getting someone the right mental state, is to practice and train yourself. Because a lot of these freshmen in college have been looked at as the kid. Now, that's true. They are still young. They are still kids. They still have a lot of mistakes to make and a lot of things they have to learn. But if they don't start to change that mental narrative of the fact that they are capable of accomplishing this job, then we're not going to get the future management and just the leaders of tomorrow if they don't even have those chances. So that's what I like to do in my class. And I just love the fact that birthday experience where it was just, just appreciating it and things like that. Because, again, am I going to celebrate my birthday in Axpona? Probably 100 times. And of those times, a lot of them are going to be a phenomenal experience. Anything that happens with Bill Petit, sales marketing director, certain people over there that, Walter Schofield, Joe Parvey, those gentlemen who I've just known for a long time. But then you have the birthday moments where it's are we really celebrating, or are we using my birthday as a vehicle to for future negotiations? Which kind of leads to the larger concept of the topic I wanted to hit, and why I've been a little slow to do this next podcast. Just because, again, I always come back to the fact that I feel that if everyone, like my mom would say, there's doing things right, then there's doing the right thing. And we all know, supposedly we all know about the economy and how it has been. And I struggle when I see online when people are fighting each other because all of a sudden we're back on the political side of stuff since elections are coming. So all of a sudden everyone's got to take out their teeth and talk about their desired president's America. And I think it should just come back to, obviously I think it's my podcast, it's a chat with me. But if everyone would just not be a jerk to each other, not be nasty or mean, or rather take a moment and take a step back and realize, hey, maybe that guy's having a bad day. Maybe he's not trying to ruin my life. Maybe I just caught that. But a whole situation we're having with a delivery company. That's a whole other long story. The moral is a lot of people messed up. I'm getting service because I'm not just calling and yelling at these guys and flipping out. I'm calling and saying, hey, I'm frustrated. It wasn't great, but you know what? Maybe he had a bad day. Maybe I had a bad day. Maybe we didn't communicate the right way. So, and that's a huge part of this stuff, of being able to communicate with one another, help one another, find a middle ground, find an actual solution. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to have that be a segue into something we're dealing with Axpona. So, on the VPI side of things, folks, for anyone listening, I will be going to Axpona. Initially, I was planning on missing it because I really have been away from home a lot more than I expected in the first 6 months of having a child. I've having my boy. He's 6 months old now, baby John, and I really had planned on being home more. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh, I don't know, Matt, I see on Facebook, you're always there. I mean, it's and that may be true. Maybe I am around more than most, but for me, I have to gauge it off of what my mom and dad did. Mom, Sheila, Harry Weisfeld, when they hit this certain point, and I didn't know it in the moment. I only reflected upon it later on. I actually didn't realize this until writing the VPI book. Because when I was writing the VPI book, my base and foundation was what my mom had already written. Then from there, I just had to go off of my own life experiences. And my dad, Harry, he wanted nothing to do with it to begin with. He really didn't want anything to do with any of this, and rightfully so, because a 6-month fight with cancer isn't good for anybody. That's a heavy weight that anyone who's ever gone through that, well, not to sound lame or cheesy, but, from my heart, my apologies, because it's like everyone has dealt with cancer, but especially when you're really in the trenches, so I get it. It's soul sucking with all that stuff. But in general, going off of what my mom and dad did, and when writing the book, it really hit me. They missed all these moments. I was going through about oh, wow, Mom, Dad, how come you didn't go to Munich during the product launch? And I don't remember, one of the things that came up, and I learned it with my mom alive too, because she told me a lot about this, but there was one thing in particular regarding Munich, and incidentally, I am missing Munich this year, and they skipped Munich. They had just come on with Arndt, I can't pronounce his last name. Here Audio. He's no longer our distributor in Germany, but we still love the guy. He's family. Nonetheless, there was this moment years ago. I was younger. I don't remember exactly what the details were, but it was one of those from a now grown as the owner of VPI. My first thought was, geez, Mom, Dad, why didn't you launch that in Munich? You had the right distributor at the time that was fit for your company. And the long and the short of it was, I had something. I had something related to school or related to whatever. And again, they don't remember exactly, but it was one of those no, we couldn't be away. We couldn't be away for our kid, when he's 6, during those developmental moments. And I had that happen already. A few years ago, I'm sure a lot of you've heard about and saw, I made the wild decision of, not necessarily the greatest, of running for political office. And long story short, because I know I've said this before, and I do feel like I'm going to repeat myself on the podcast, because I can't keep track of the interviews when I'm interviewed by one of the music specialized publications, or if I said it here. But during the election, I did miss an actual moment. My daughter won an art contest, not a participation thing, and so I unfortunately missed that. She actually just won another one. I'm so proud. She's really stepping up with just being so amazing. But that first art moment, I missed it because I was knocking on doors, being a politician. And I stopped right there. I only lost by 100 some odd votes. In the back of my mind, I think had I kept knocking on doors and things like that, probably could have pulled it. So glad I didn't, because I missed a milestone. So going back to Axpona and what we were talking about, or what I was talking about a moment ago, that's why I'm really dialing back on the audio shows and everything. I am following in Mom and Dad's footsteps of continuing. And there was some concern. The front end's not even aware of this, and I don't know if I should theoretically be talking about this, but I like to think one of the reasons why you guys like VPI, or at least curious, confused, intrigued by us is of how we share it, of how we try to bring people in the experience. I don't know. I like when people are aware of information. And from the business standpoint, when I teach my students, I do tell them, like, don't share everything. Don't put it all out there. But I do feel when you can and when it's appropriate, I do like to share as much as possible. Just so people aren't thinking, oh, what the heck is Matt doing with that? Or like, oh, look at that. Just so people have a understanding and communication, as mentioned already with all of this. So that's why, I've even put out there on the back end that with Bill Petit being on the team and being able to, he actually knows a lot of the things I do day to day in the sense of communicating, connecting, and whatnot. But anyway, the point is that I am able to take a bit of a step back, and that's on purpose. And I got a message from, actually one person, like, are you okay? And that's a complicated question, because in reality, I don't think any of us are. Everyone's fighting a battle we know nothing about, and like the actual answer is no, I'm not okay. I don't like how the world has been to each other. I don't like how it's the past, just how processes have been. But I am okay. I'm actually better in the sense. What I tell people is, big picture, everything's great. It can't go wrong. My kids are healthy. I'm seeing them and everything. Day to day, you have those moments of just like, oh, geez, why did that guy screw over that guy? Now it's going to be awkward if we bring that person's amplifier in, or whatever thing, or all those frustrations, I'll call it, that happen in the industry or happen in life, where, you have that. I've got a friend right now who is struggling with their neighbor because they have a different political preference. But everything that I've heard about this neighbor thus far sounds like they're great neighbors, except for election. Again, kind of coming back to that. But I don't ever really want to dive into talking about politics because, again, I respect everyone's opinions and whatnot. Or at least I try to. I'm a human being as well. But, again, without pulling myself out of that rabbit hole, the overall thing being that this year I just don't want to go to these shows. I don't want to, not because I don't want to, I want to be around. Taking Shyla to the Florida Audio Fest was amazing. That was a game changer and something that's going to bring me back into the shows. But I just know that growing up, I cannot really think of, there were moments, but I can't think of any moment where I was on stage. I did a lot of performing arts. I was never on stage wondering, where's that empty seat? How come mom and dad aren't here? No, they were always there. My mom she would go to every performance to the point where my dad would be like, Sheila, stop. I always knew that if not both, at least one of them was going to make it. There was never that, I guess they're at another audio show. And I guess that's why I'm self-conscious about that, because I just don't want them to ever have that, it's okay, my dad's never home. And that sucks for anyone who's in that situation. Whether you are the parent trying to make it back home, and unfortunately don't have that ability to, or if you were that child, or currently are, that's, I just don't want, if I can avoid that, we got to do what we got to do. And that's why with Axpona, I have to go. We've got too many tables. There's, too much been going on in the world with companies changing and whatnot. I want to see my dealers. I want to, that, and also, it's, we didn't put out the list yet. I'll be throwing that up. What am I saying? It's my birthday. I'm not doing it tonight. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So at some point, I'm going to put out where the tables and everything are. But I want to get out there this year so I can see the dealers, see everybody, and just in general make sure all the systems are set up appropriately and whatnot. That, and with Bill coming out with me, it's going to be so nice to have help. Useful, no offense if anyone listening to this has helped me, but sometimes when I don't accept people's help, it's not because I don't want it. I actually really do. However, I know that you may not necessarily know what I need. And that's why, the best partner I always had at shows was always my wife. Jane, when I was able to go to shows with Jane, that was like a fine-oiled machine. Whether it was Munich, Axpona, and man, the first time I took her to an audio show was Axpona. It was our 1-year anniversary, and she was just she was a legend. The dealer we were, oh, what am I saying? Music Direct was going a little crazier than usual, and they had more responsibilities than they expected, and so Jane and I were supposed to just kind of be the eye candy for the show, and we go in there and. It was one of those situations. Best tried, and he was like, "Matt, I can't get anyone from MD up there until tonight. Can you?" I couldn't do that. I mean, it wasn't that Music Direct didn't get it done. It's just they couldn't get it done fast. And for me, I just know that I can't really enjoy myself or relax or unpack until I know everything's at least at a baseline. It doesn't have to be perfect because everyone has. I don't actually even like doing the finer details at the end unless it's with the person with the room. Because how I enjoy how a sound is just may not be the same. We all have different representations of music and what is right. But I'm at Axpona, I'm with Jane, I walk in and it's just boxes. They're not unloaded, they're not set, nothing's there. And again, Bess is saying that we got it, but it's going to be at least another couple of hours. And all I can think about is, what if the table didn't survive shipping? What if something got cracked? What if, is that tube? Is it solid state? Do we have enough? Like, even back then, I just knew that I wouldn't be able to sit right until it was at least out of the boxes. So, but now I'm thinking, oh, geez, I'm here with my girlfriend, who may or may not really even want to be here or whatnot. And no, Jane kind of like rolled up her sleeve. She was in this beautiful dress and everything. And we took a second to regroup. And she came back out in her work clothes, or, you know, I just remember thinking to myself, when did you even change? I was in the zone and trying to figure out what to do or what not. And also, there is also those moments in life where you have to ask yourself, well, should I be pushing? Should I push Bess more? Be like, no, that's not acceptable. And in that case, no. He was already pushed by everybody and was just doing the best he could. So that was one of those moments where, yeah, I'm sure I had a bit of wasn't expecting this, but I got you, man. Go do your thing. You know, and eventually they came around, like they did help. But so from there, Jane and I rolled up our sleeves. We realized this is our chance to go do that and help out and do what we can. And I still have a picture of there. I'm sure it's going to pop up on Facebook soon because it was April. It was around this time. And I showed her how to mount a cartridge. This was, we were launching the Nomad table with the all-in-one and everything, but we didn't have the cartridges. I had them on me, so I had to mount all of them, and it was a lot. I showed Jane once. I didn't even want to. And she knows this. I'm not saying anything she wouldn't know. But I really didn't want to show Jane how to do this because I'm thinking I have X amount of time to get all of this done. And I still want to be a half-decent boyfriend because it is our 1-year anniversary. So I'm showing it to Jane. She got it. She absolutely nailed it. And before you knew it, I had one of those moments, and I don't know if she even knows I did this, but I was just staring at her like while I had a Nomad out. I was mounting one. She had a Nomad out. She was mounting it. And I was watching her just mounting this Autofon 2M Red on this Nomad turntable. And I'm thinking to myself, well, actually, I always have these thoughts of like, man, I really wish Mom met this one. I really wish Mom met Jane. And, you know, she got the approval from my grandfather and from Shirley, my grandma, which was probably tougher than Mom. So she did good. But I'm looking at there, it was just like, there you go. You're like Mom and Dad, no matter what, in the sense of like, you know, whether things were rough, things were good, whatever it was, we got to get a job done. We're doing it. Same page, same team. There she was. And again, I've got a picture of her on Facebook by herself, pulling out a pair, I think it was Focal speakers, Focal or Yamaha, because I know we had Yamaha electronics, and some guy gave me crap about that, and now, that was ridiculous, because that whole system was entry level, and I remember telling that guy, hey, this isn't your high performance, I mean, it was, but this isn't your $500,000 system. The whole system retailed for $5,000, and sounded great. We even lost power at Axpona that year, and or something happened with the sound. I don't remember what. And we had a really, really long cable because we were using I don't remember what it was. But it was something with it. It was powered speakers. We were using it through the Nomad headphones. So I dragged one of the speakers out into the. My God, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I'm telling all of you this, but I ended up dragging the speaker out into the hallway because since there was no power or no sound or whatever, it was awkwardly quiet at an audio show. So I ended up moving the speaker into the hallway, and I don't know why we had sound or why, but for whatever reason, we still had it going. So I just fired it up in the hallway. So anyway, Axpona. So one of the questions that was asked on the VPI Facebook page was about the Avenger reference direct, the Avengers series, and that arm. And when it locks on, is it introducing vibration? How do we combat that? Actually, I don't even remember if that was the solid question, but I'll go into that in general. Because one of the biggest issues with turntables and this whole industry is vibrations and combating vibrations. I've had so many situations where we can't figure out why a person has noise, and I always ask people for a picture. I ask people for a picture of their system. That's really what I'm looking for. I'll ask for a picture, my guys will ask for a picture, and on a good day, they'll take a picture and send it to us because it shouldn't be that difficult, especially this day and age. You have a camera in your phone, more than likely. Even those older phones, come on, guys. We know Verizon and T-Mobile has forced you to get a newer phone. But then we get on the other end of the spectrum, we'll get, what, you don't know your product? The answer is, well, no, we're not really sure if it's secondhand. We don't know what the former user modded with. We don't know what we're asking for a picture to see the changes. Or, now in my case, because I know this, or if it's like an Aries. My dad went through so many variations of the Aries, and if you don't tell me it's an Aries 3 extended, then I'm not going to know. It's like, oh, it's an Aries 3. What type? Is it an extended? Is it a Black Knight? Is it a this? Is it a that? And if they know, that's going to give me an idea. But in most cases, they don't. They're like, it's an Aries 3. So, okay, well, I need a picture. So, going back to vibration, a lot of times, the issues we have in the system they actually have nothing to do with the turntable. It will be because it's a real crummy IKEA rack that was nice for furniture, nice for storing records, not nice to have it on that suspended floor that vibrates on, like, when you sneeze, that's going to shake that IKEA rack like a roller coaster and then lead to vibrations that are going to potentially... Now, it's not supposed to go through the turntable, but, we do the best we can. I love when Fremer, and I always say this, Fremer was at my wedding, so I can give him a hard time a little bit. I always love when Fremer starts knocking the heck out of the tabletop the turntable's on. And actually, I like when he does that and points out that's really good. But on the other hand, I don't like it because it's very unrealistic. No one's going to go over there unless you're doing karate and listening to music, which I can't imagine a circumstance where someone's doing karate while a high-end... I'm kidding. We have that at my dojo now. And we did that the other night. We had Led Zeppelin playing, blasting, and we had the gloves on, and we were just beating the heck out of each other. What a fantastic class and listening experience. Then we sat down and listened. So, vibrations. That's why all the stuff that we do is with that in mind. Back when we had Mike Bettinger, he went through a whole phase, and I had my days where I'm thinking, oh geez, what the heck's he doing? What he was doing was he was hitting different types of materials and rubbers and other items with a mallet, with an accelerometer, with all the measuring tools he needed, and with a stethoscope. My dad used to do that a lot. I remember... we're going back now to when I was younger, and my dad would do this in the basement. He had all sorts of testing tools, and he had a stethoscope. And I always thought it was, ridiculous, because I'd go downstairs, more like I'd sneak downstairs to drive him nuts. And, I'd go down there, and he had his stethoscope, he had something, and to me, I'd be like, what's he doing, being a doctor? Did my dad lose it? What I didn't realize was that he was actually measuring using the various tools on how a material was excited by vibration, how it was excited paired with other materials. He found that with acrylic, the acrylic didn't work as well for him and for the measurement standpoint with the acrylic platters. But they still do work. They still do get. I mean, Clear Audio does an amazing job with it. They get. I gotta give them a hat tip. They've got thick acrylic that is just unbelievable. Whereas other companies or other, as far as how it's manufactured and made and everything else, it's a matter of how's that vibration going through. Is the acrylic going to be enough? Now, we found with the chassis, with the Aries tables, the TNTs, all of the original TNTs, they were just a piece of acrylic. Then it ended up evolving to being two pieces of acrylic with a piece of steel in the middle, until eventually we get that HRX look. I believe the HRX came first with that look, and then the Aries, where it trickled down in reverse, where they ended up doing a thick piece of acrylic, a thick piece of aluminum, another thick piece of aluminum, and bonded together with, actually back in the day, we used to use this material that people don't even realize. We used to put that in as well. We eventually removed it because we found, from a measuring standpoint, it was 6 of one, half a dozen of another. For all of you international people out there who may not know that phrase, who may be listening to this, we found that the rubber material, or actually I'm not even sure what the material was, it was a form of rubber, because of the compression of really locking it in between the acrylic, aluminum, and acrylic, it had no bounce. It had no, we overly crushed it. It was, once it was connected in, that it didn't actually have any additional isolation, cancellation abilities, whatever you want to call it, over just using silicone glue and other types of proprietary type things. And guys, when I say proprietary, it's not really like a big, huge thing. It is just, it's almost really experience. Well, that's really what that comes into a lot of times, like when we've done OEM partners where they fight us on something and we're like, no, we don't want to fight you. We don't want to keep you from doing that aesthetically beautiful thing. However, it's not going to work. Your pulley's going to fall off. Like, I literally had that conversation with somebody. We had a one design OEM project with the industrial designer that at the last minute, they cocked the head shell. We almost missed this because it really happened in the final steps. And then we went to go argue, like, whoa, why did you just cock the head shell? And they're like, oh, it matches the bevel beautifully. And they gave this beautifully flowery description of why. And then I looked at it and looked at him and said, that's all well and good, but you're breaking the cartridge now. The math is wrong. So going back to design aspects of it, now that, even though that was mathematically incorrect, from experience, I was able to look at that and just tell that's wrong. I didn't take out a calculator of sorts, not a calculator, any measurement tool. I didn't take out an alignment jig. I didn't check it with a tool to know that that was wrong. I saw that measurement, I saw that angle rather, and just knew that's breaking the cartridge. That's not even going to work. So going back to the material design and material science in general, of just having different materials together. We used to have this puck. We used to have this amazing rubber puck. I thought it was amazing because as a kid, I loved playing with this thing. It was this very dense, very thick rubber cylinder that was specially made for us, that sat right underneath the TNT. Anyone who has or had a TNT who switched from air suspension, when that all went down, thank you, Firestone. That's a podcast for another day. But that rubber cylinder was the replacement that, I don't even know what my dad went through to find that or do that, and it worked beautifully. But, I mean, it isolated, you could take a sledgehammer to the floor, and it wasn't going through this thing. And that's the stuff that we consider with all these with tables and whatnot. Now, with the Avenger, with the evolution of that, the original Avenger, the very first batch, did not isolate. Not well. It isolated, but it didn't isolate to the caliber we prefer, because the original Avenger wasn't even a product. It was a prototype. I've talked about this in other interviews and podcasts, but we found this prototype Dad was working on, 18, 20 years ago now, and he just never finished. He sold one, and then he just didn't do it. And then we found it. It was under a cake of dust. It was called the Tripod Project. We put it out on the table, and then Bob Satin from Bob's Devices. We did it for the first dealer training we did. I brought back dealer training, and I wanted to show off that. And my distributor John Carroll always gives me crap about this, and he's so right. Don't show a product unless it's ready, and that was exactly that. I showed the Avenger, the tripod, this really cool looking thing to look cool as the dealers came in. And, I'd listen up out there, Music Direct, Bob Sat, obviously Bob. And everyone looked at it like, whoa. And I did a whole, sneak peek. This is coming. I don't know what we're going to do with it. I don't even know what we're going to run with it. And Bob said, I want it. Like, well, what do you mean? And now, again, I should have said no. I've learned. This was, again, 8-9 years ago when I did this. Now I would have said, sorry, Bob, you're just going to have to wait. Hey, check out a signature whatever, something in the line. But back then, I got all excited with Bob's enthusiasm, and he was like, I got to bring it. I'm like, you can't. I'm like, well, I'm buying it. I don't have a price. Well, give me a price. I'm buying it. And I quickly went in the back, and I had to figure out numbers. I pulled up, vendor things. I just know that there was a period of time that while the dealers were eating lunch, I was in the back with Jane trying to, figure out these QuickBooks things on... I don't want to make it sound like it was a disorganized mess. It only was because we weren't expecting it. I wasn't expecting an actual price needed right then and there. And but going back to the isolation and, again, the armature on there, the big thing with that was the fact that, initially, we didn't test it. We didn't test the material and all the stuff needed at that point. And with that being said, the original Avenger... It was good, it worked, but we put so much time with the material down to the feet, having those pucks, having the ball bearings. We used to have ball bearings. And because of the size of our company, where we don't have shareholders, we don't have to go to different partners. My partners are you guys, the customers, the dealers, the reviewers, my wife, Jane. I love when she gives me pushback. Because when Jane gives me pushback, it's usually because she doesn't understand it. So then, and anyone who doesn't know, she's Chinese, English is a second language, and she's done such a beautiful job just learning all of this. But if Jane doesn't understand, my first thought is, I'm probably not communicating it right. Let me try again. And 9 times out of 10, then it makes sense. And I love it. I love the pushback because it helps me solidify the existing idea and learning a better way to communicate it. Or she'll help me realize, you're right. That's really bad messaging. Oh, that really doesn't work. That, whatever. And then I can make changes accordingly. So now, in this case, though, with the Avenger, and same thing with the Prime, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. But we learn as we go along. And like my dad did with the HW19 Mark 1 through 4, as the improvements would come, we'd have the trickle-down ability. The puck for the Avenger, for example, that's changed from having all ball bearings to having ball bearings in the center to having... now what we found, which was what's working from a solidity standpoint of how it can sit on the table. It has the noise cancellation, where we have the rubber gasket O-ring on the bottom with the Delrin material for that black puck on the bottom, and then a proprietary, and by proprietary, it's just the density that we found for that rubber material on the inside, so that the Avenger cone can sit nestled right into that rubber material that's already starting the isolation. We didn't even get to the table yet. Then you go up to that cone, which is decoupled with that bottom puck, and then through the cone, there's another isolator in there. Now, it's a larger one, and that's almost the type of isolator you would see in our lower-end models, like the Signature, like the Prime, or whatever. At all of our tables, heck, you can pop open a Classic and you'll find a variant of this type of rubber isolator. And that isolator, there's other companies that make third-party whatever stuff. I'm not going to say they're good or bad, guys. I mean, any third-party thing that can help you hot rod your rig and have a better, fun experience, it's your table. It's your experience in general. You want to put someone else's tone arm on? Have at it. You want to put these... just don't drive your dealer, distributor, or me crazy afterwards and wonder, Matt, your guy in Greece, not that, actually my distributor in Greece is doing an amazing thing for a customer right now, where he's, anyway, be it as it may, don't like modify the heck out of your turntable, then go to that distributor and say, oh, VPI and you really screwed me. So it's if you're going to modify it, enjoy it. Again, going back to why we like a picture. So if something's not working, and I have that all the time with the HW19. With the HW19, one of the big things is people think that Audio Quest tone arm from back in the day was our tone arm. Then they get really mad when we don't know how to service it. And we actually do know tips and whatnot with it. But again, we need the pictures so we realize, ooh, that's not a VPI arm. That's an Audio Quest arm or a Rega arm. Ooh, you got to call Rega. They can help you out beautifully. Back to the Avenger and that arm board. So then we're going into the chassis itself, which, again, what we found out with our HRX and Aries, as I mentioned before, you have that layered, that layered chassis, acrylic, aluminum, acrylic. And then again, with the proprietary types of, proprietary, it's a specific silicon that we use. And there's a specific pattern. I don't know. Does the pattern really work? I think so. We measured it at some point. Does it make people on my staff feel better? Yeah. So that's a good thing. So with that, again, with the different materials and the different types of glues that are all in there, all this, again, is going back to the damping material. Now let's talk about that stainless steel post, because it is, again, another material. So that post, while it does connect everything, it's connecting it with the different materials and the different, that rubber ice layer that's on the bottom of that post. So from a measuring standpoint, and guys, when I say measuring, I have to apologize. I don't know I don't even really know the scale, to be fair. That's why at VPI, we like having these different engineers. We like having people. I have grown up with all of this. I've learned this. I've gone to school. But I didn't specifically go from a trade standpoint, like my dad, Harry Weisfeld, like Mike Bettinger, Pascal Pervin, or another one of our guys, Paul all these engineers we've had over, Jan Clunin. I mean, my guy who builds all these turntables, even though he's one of our turntable technicians, he is an engineer, so that's why we like to go for that. So those measurements are carried out by those gentlemen who have that trained ability with it, from the accelerometer and all the different tools they have. And so with that, the connecting of the post, then we found that with that thick piece of aluminum that we use, and that material could be anything. Like the best arm board we found was when we again had layers with it. We did that's when we did a steel, acrylic steel instead. So a metallic material that was better, and then that even had an O-ring when we did that. But then we found with the O-rings, it drove people nuts as far as the different types of O-rings, getting the O-rings to fit, and which was another thing that my dad had learned years ago with the JMW tone arm. So we didn't even bother with that. So we found that with the mounting and the resonance canceling, the noise vibration, in the end, the fastest, easiest, most efficient, and best for home use. When I say fastest and easiest, let me give a little more context. I am hopeful that this is going to be set up in the house, the showroom, the listening room, by somebody trained. Now, we do go to great lengths to train our dealers. Actually, I shouldn't say that. We've been slacking because of COVID. We've only done virtual training since COVID. Pre-COVID, we would do 1 to 2 trainings for our dealers all year. You weren't even allowed to touch an Avenger and the apparatus we're discussing, the arm board. You weren't even allowed to sell that if you had not had a training under your belt over a certain amount of time. We are bringing that back. So kind of a little hat tip of what's happening for the future. This October, we're going to have our first dealer training, in person. Well, we've done them, but they've been virtual, and virtual's never on the same level. It's a nice supplement. But like even with karate, when you do that stuff, it's a great supplement. I'm debating upon teaching my Friday night class, which is my favorite class. Any of my students listening, I love you all. Go to my Friday class. I'll love you more. Because with that class, we train, we work hard, and then we listen to music, and it's a nice way to end the week. But like I'm debating upon doing a live stream or a Zoom thing while at Axpona. And so that armature, going back to the Avenger, to mitigate the overall vibration, and making sure that if that customer is not proficient, and if he doesn't have a dealer, if he may not have a dealer at all, maybe he's getting it used, he's getting it secondhand, or the dealer it can't make it out for whatever reason, and they should, or maybe you have this really great dealer who's trying so hard, but he just doesn't have the damn training, just doesn't know what he's doing, and it happens sometimes. Like I've got some dealers who are amazing, and they hit a cap because they just haven't gotten that education yet. So that's why, going back to the arm board, we found when I say easiest, that's what I mean, in the sense of if the customer is on their own using a YouTube video, or has me or one of my guys on the phone, whatever, that this type of arm board works great. You lock it in with this really thick screw. That thickness nails it, and then it just works with that piece of aluminum. And then again, just with the measurements, it doesn't go through. It did measure better with the other arm boards. And one of the things we were going to look into, just life kept happening. We were looking at doing other types of arm boards, and that's why you might see that every so often somebody will make their own. A shout out to, unfortunately, he's since passed, but Joe from Cosmic. Man, what a great guy. Cosmic Audio, if I'm getting the name of it right. He was one of our dealers. He was one of those high-end dealers. And when I say high-end, I don't mean he would talk down to you like some of the SOBs in our industry. Sorry, anyone in this industry who talks down to a customer or has that arrogant air, I really wish you would retire. I wish you would quit. I wish you would leave this industry, because while it's so delightful that you can sell those $100,000+ products, you're doing the industry a disservice. Good for you for filling your pockets. Bad on you for turning someone off to an experience. Yeah, that's a sensitive one to me. We'll come back to that for another time. But going back to that Avenger, we do want to make sure that you can still set it up, that you can still have that experience. It's not going to be super crazy with that installation, and that's still going to be effective. So that's why, I mean, we've had we have that other Avenger. You've probably seen it. It was on the Vanquish with that acrylic metal, and yeah, it measured better. It's also like 4 times the cost. And that's another factor of what can be done in that price range that makes sense for the product. So with that arm board, it locks in. It's got a big thick screw. How the apparatus is of when it tightens, it also does just it isolates it more. Again, from the vibration standpoint, and then that arm base that goes on there, because at this point we've transitioned to all the VTA bases being with that Fat Boy VTA base, and that's if you're using a VPI arm. If you're using a VPI arm, that Fat Boy VTA base, it's just more robust. It's the same combination of It's the same type of tone arm and arm base as a standard, but it's just more robust. It's made with it's just made better because, well, there's more in it. So it's thicker, it's larger, and again, from the different materials that are in that arm base, it does help with that. I hope that answered the question. I know I go all over the rabbit hole. I do this in my classes also, guys. I like to share the whole story of something, because if I'm telling you about an Avenger, I want to give you a little bit more story and context. So maybe it does help for you to understand. Maybe it does help to make it more meaningful, help you remember, or whatever it might be. So I wanted to mention about that because, again, from the Facebook questions and things. So just to, you know what, I am going to wrap this up because, well, it's my birthday, and I got to go ice skating with Shyla because, well, my mom and dad went ice skating with me, so that's what has to happen. And then, guys, anyone who's like from Homedale, who's listening to this, I've been doing this citizens, police, first aid, fire department, whatever you want to call it. Oh my, it is amazing. had no idea. I mean, like, but you don't know. And I've always liked the police department. Yeah, guys, I support them. I support all of it. If it's a bad individual in general, whatever it is, they gotta go. But if a doctor makes a mistake, you don't shut down the entire floor for doctors. You get them together. So I felt like I have to say that just because I do get a hard time sometimes when I post about my local police and everything else, and I proudly support it. So I proudly support anyone in any department of anything that's gonna look out for me, make my life better, safer. And actually, forget about me. My kids. I like the fact, like a lot of the people that are on the Homedale Police Department, I either went to school with or I taught them. This guy, Jimmy Corrigan. He's like, I always tease, like, I make jokes. I really shouldn't make those jokes about, like, you gave him a gun, haha. This kid was a genius. He was freaking, like, he was in Homedale High School. He was like the top chess player. I mean, it's like Homedale always has the rep of, that's where all the smart Asians come from. Like, and that's always what people have said in the past. Then there'd be Jimmy Corrigan, just like destroying everybody in chess. And then he'd say something that would be like, the biggest, like, the hell did he just say? And it's great. I love the fact that he's keeping Shiloh safe. That, he's answering the call. My former student, Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan's like built like a freaking truck. Like, I'm pretty sure if you were to hit him with, like, those things they use, it would just bounce off him. Smart kid, Officer Nolan, Officer Corrigan. They've earned those titles. And I love the fact, and that's what I'm doing for my birthday. I'm gonna be hanging out with those guys because Jane signed us up for it. I'm learning all about them. I had no idea that, our fire department, our first aid department, they're all volunteer. All of it. They get some state funding and everything. And anyway, I don't want to go off on another. I got to get going to get things together. But that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing some ice skating. Then I'm going to be. Oh, that's right. Tonight is the canine unit, so we get to meet the dog. The dog's name is Murphy, and it's just hilarious. They all make jokes about how that the whole town that everyone does all this stuff, but there's the dog. We love Murph, so I'm gonna have a chance to meet him tonight. And so anyone listening to this, it's probably not my birthday by the time I post this, but I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate everyone out there. It's already been a heck of a day, and that happens, where it's just you got to find the good and the bad. And I'm saying the good in the bad, not the good and the bad, because sometimes bad happens. What do? Do you shut down and give up on the day? Well, sometimes that is the best advice. Otherwise, you just look at the good that you have there. So, I mean, I'm exhausted. I actually don't really want to go ice skating right now, from a physical standpoint. But I'm as pumped as can be. I'm going to ice skate, and I'm going to, like, have a great time, because I'm going to go ice skate with my daughter. So, anyway, guys, this is Matt Weisfeld. Hope you enjoyed this latest of chat with Matt. Again, quick bullet point what we talked about, the importance of communication and everyone just being better to each other. There's doing things right, and there's doing the right thing. Try to make the right choices and do the right thing. That's what I'm trying to teach my students, besides the technological aspects of life and giving them that real-life job experience. The Avenger, I think again, I don't remember the original question, but I hope I went into enough details about the overall design and paradigms of what creates it. And again, with the Avenger, really quick, it's made to be a sandbox turntable. Oh, and so that was the other thing. We've been making an arm board custom for Klaus, so that way we can put his Graham tone arm on our table, because this stuff should be fun. And so we're going to see how that sounds. Guys, it's actually it's a thick piece of wood. We don't even know how it's just a lot of fun. But I hope we discussed that, that's what we discussed as far as the Avengers. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning more about that. Future things at VPI, we're doing our training and everything in October. So I would say there'd be more exciting stuff then. But you guys have all seen, like, we have that Avenger phono stage, and we've got the Goldie cartridge, which is still new-ish, and things like that. And I'm going to be at Axpona this weekend, and going to be setting up a lot of Avenger Directs and a lot of a Titan, one Titan that I know of. We were supposed to get another Titan out there. it was too last minute. I didn't want to rush it, so it became another Avenger Direct. So I'll be seeing all of you guys out in Chicago. I'll be Al, if you're listening, shout out to you, my man. I am going to be doing the two things I'm hoping to do besides having a great time and meeting everyone and seeing everybody is to potentially do a live karate class virtually and also set up Al. I'm not remembering your last name. My apologies. Al's got a Prime. He has a 12-inch arm because it goes on his Aries. So this weekend, I'm going to bring the arm board for him, and I'm going to mount that arm board and mount his VTA base and 12-inch arm right on his Prime for him. So if you're around, guys, stay tuned. And if I post this in time, I'll post information so that we can see if the owner of the whole company knows how to put his own arm on. Anyway, guys, I'm Matt Weisfeld. Hope you all enjoyed. Obviously, Matt, at this stage, you should realize that. If you liked what you heard, oh, man, I ended up going for an hour on this again. Seriously, I keep meaning to do another 15 minutes with Matt. Turns into 55 minutes. So, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for being around. Hope you learned something. Please, if you liked what you heard, give me a like on this, share or something. I'm just saying as we get more feedback and things with this. And if you have questions, then, drop that question in the Facebook page. Shout out to everyone that helped keep that page going and any social media platform that is just like a decent human being. Keep being your best self and, keep fighting that battle that everyone's fighting every day. And I hope you all win it. See you all next time.